Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie. Today we're talking about the Nitro Squash 159 2026 model. It's a board that does not feel very swallowtaily. Floats well for full camber in powder, maybe not the best though. Has a very locked in, technical, powerful, hard carving, hard driving feel that feels wider than the specs would lead you to believe. Has amazing pop and drive out of a turn, but isn't the board you want to get if you really like that turny, slashy feel. It can feel a little locked in some soft and powder-like conditions. I rode this with my trusty Union Force and Nitro Team TLS boots that I've been riding the whole season. So I only had this for a limited time, but I did get it on Pretty Fun Groomer Day. The other was 6 inches on top of 5 inches from the day before. So there were some good deep spots in some places, and it was a nice surprise to a spring test. And just so you know, this is an unbiased, objective review for you, the consumer, and we can do that thanks to your support and from sponsorship we get from Blower Board Shop. They've been selling to snowboarders longer than most snowboarders have been allowed to ride the resorts. They've been making a push lately to create a larger online presence, and they're right there with all the big brands when it comes to shipping, customer support, and price matching. So if you want to support honest, objective content, click through our links to Blower Board Shop and buy something. Now, when it comes to sizing, the 59 did feel bigger than I thought it would. For its specs, it felt like a lot of board. I could handle it, and if you're somebody who likes a lot of speed, this could work for you, but it's not going to feel quick in tight spots. When it comes to shape, this is very directional, but not that tapered. It only has 6 mil of taper. This doesn't feel like your typical swallowtail. There's a 25 millimeter setback on side cut. But if you're looking at the mini disc reference stance, you're looking at 5.25 inches back from center of board. They say 21 on the specs, but I measured this and it's 21.25. Maybe that's just what's going on with the demo, but it might be your case in production. Then if you want to set it all the way back with full-size discs, because that's how I always do it for setback on board, you're looking at 6 inches back at a 22-inch stance width. So you're really riding this on groomers and in powder, very set back. And then looking at the camber profile, you can see there is just massive camber, and you could feel this on snow. It is super locked in, super technical. Not for beginner intermediates, really more for advanced expert riders who understand how to handle a locked-in board. You really don't want to get off your game with this. You really have to get after it. Let's talk Nitro Squash Flex. Overall, very medium stiff. Down by the tail, it is super stiff. Between the feet, it's stiffer than the nose, but not as stiff as the tail. And then the nose has a nice easy flex up past the camber points, but as you get to the front foot, it's a little stiffer. And there is some dynamic pop to this board. It is really lively. It's not easy to butter, and it's a little difficult to set up for a side hit ollie with the way this board maneuvers in tight spots for my specs. But when you have something that lines up easier, this just launches and it gives you extra ollie power. And this handled uneven snow pretty well. This is a pretty damp, powerful board, and it goes pretty fast for a 159 squashy swallowtail ride. So looking at this side cut, I'm not really seeing any disruption throughout, but had some firm moments when I was carving on this on groomers, and it held pretty well. I wouldn't say it's a full-on ice specialist, but it can dabble in some hard snow, no problem. When it comes to turn initiation, I felt like I could initiate the turn okay for my boot size 9, with Union Force and Nitro Team TLS. That's a little more on the responsive side. And when I got it on edge, this side cut that starts out a little shallow at 8.4 meters and then goes to 6.4 meters out the back feels more 8.4 to me. I tried front foot, center, and back foot waiting the turn, and all of them did well, but none of them really felt like it was making this board turn across the groomers. It felt a little more down the line, a little more drivey, but with a little force and a bigger foot, I think you could engage that more turny backside of the board and get it to drive across the groomers a little better than I could. But even though I couldn't really get it to across the groomer or circle carve that hard, the down the line carves I had were exceptional, and the spring out of the turn was so fun. I like this so much better on groomers than I did in powder. This just really lit it up for me. And when it comes to base glide, thanks Benny for waxing this for us. Greatly appreciated. And this had pretty good glide. It kept its speed well. It's not the fastest of fast, but it's up there. And when I did get it in POW, and it got deep in some places enough to test this board, I found that the personality of this board stayed true. But while I enjoyed that locked in feeling on groomers and the way it turned, it felt a little too locked in powder, and it hindered my ability to slash in certain features, and I just never felt like I had a smooth, flowy approach to everything. I think this wants steeper, more open terrain. It really wants to go straight, fast, and send a huge rooster tail behind the board. In moderate to borderline steep terrain, this just didn't feel like a great low-angle powder floater, despite its setback on board, its bigger nose than tail. This camber, this locked-in feel, just didn't make it a fun board for me personally in powder. But it does float very well for a full camber board in powder. So if you like that old school traditional full camber feel, you like a really set back board in powder, this might work for you. And overall, I think the Nitro Squash is a very fun, powerful, carvy board for more old school, bordering on mid-wide riders that really like full camber and they don't want to fuck around with any early rise. This is their board, especially if you like a more locked in, down the line feel that takes a little bit of work to engage the deeper side cut in the rear, but pops so well and drives so well out of a turn. There you have it.